America, we gotta get back to doing what's expected of us as free citizens in this democracy. That means being tolerant, being respectful, staying informed, and being engaged. I'm former Congressman Joe Walsh. Follow me here and join the millions of Americans who are renewing their social contract with each other. The social contract, it's on us.
Joe. So, hey everybody, welcome to a bonus edition of Endless Urgency, because this is my second live show today. I'm Mike Nellis. I'm here with my guest, former Republican Congressman turned Democrat, Joe Walsh, and frankly, my new best friend, who I talk about you all the time because you were literally one of my favorite interviews. So I'm excited to have you back.
Mutual, Mike. I got a bit of a fucking man crush on you. I mean it. It's wild.
I'm not sure what that says about me as a Democratic strategist, but I'm excited about it.
Former Tea Party guy is in love with you. That's cool.
I think it's fine. I mean, I think when I met you the first time, I told you, don't look up my tweets about you 20 years ago.
Hey, I saw a hell of a tweet from you just a day or two ago, mister.
Yeah, for those that don't know, I had what, according to one social listening tool, was the #1 tweet in America on Tuesday, which is that I ratioed the fuck out of Nancy Mace. Nancy Mace, right after voting against releasing the Epstein report, tweeted that we're gonna throw all child in jail. I'll let you figure out what the word is because the algorithms get mad at you. And I quote tweeted her and just was like, "You voted against releasing the Epstein files like 5 minutes ago," and then it just. So it has 300,000 likes. It's easily the best tweet of my life, which is sort of bizarre. But we're going to be talking about mainly two big issues today, probably for the next 30, 40 minutes or so, I would think. But we're going to dive into the only topic in America that anybody wants to talk about, which is Jeffrey Epstein. And then, Joe, we're also going to get into whether or not the Democratic Party is big enough for Joe Walsh and Zohran Mamdani, because that is a big topic. But let's start with Trump. I'm going to set the stage and then get your reaction to it. By the way, thanks to the 200 people who are here. Please smash the heart button to keep us up in the algorithm. Like, it goes a long way to just boom, 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 boom. And if you like anything that we say, please keep doing it. And then tell us where you're from. And look, we already got one person that knows I'm going to ask. So KLSMD, I don't know what your name is, but thank you. You're on top of it. That's a repeat watcher for sure. So, okay, the latest on Donald Trump, I was online a couple hours ago, but the biggest news story is that the White House released health information about Donald Trump willingly for basically the first time ever, talking about basically, as I would describe it, Donald Trump's fat ankles.
Fat ankles.
Yeah, there's a medical term for it, but I'm not going to go deep. I don't really understand it, so I'm not going to go deep into it. But they're so desperate to talk about literally anything other than the economy or Epstein that they're talking about Donald Trump's fat, ugly ankles. And this is how far down the rabbit hole they are to just try to distract us. And they've tried to go back to the well with Joe Biden's auto pen. Was it Tuesday or Wednesday morning that they called for Adam Schiff to be imprisoned again? Like, they don't know what to do. And to me, it feels like the movement is fracturing over this Epstein stuff. Joe, will you give me your take on it?
So you're the expert strategist. I'm the former right-wing talker.
Yeah, but you're in the inside. Like, you know how internal family politics plays out.
For the life of me, Mike, Trump's behavior is bizarre.
Yeah.
Bizarre on this thing. Now, yeah, Trump lies as he breathes. So he and all of his cheerleaders were lying before the election about this Epstein thing being the mother of all deep state scandals. But his behavior now is bizarre. Like, let's move on. Why are we still fucking talking about Epstein?
Yeah.
And then yesterday it's a Democratic manufactured hoax. You're left. I don't know, man. And now you're right. He's trying to distract us with everything to the point where the White House is distracting us with health news. They never fucking do that.
And it's so transparent what they're doing. Like, it's honestly like it's desperate and it lacks creativity, and it tells you how deep into this that they are.
So to me, that's it. And again, I engage with Trump supporters every single day. And I just asked that question. Why? Why is Trump acting this way? Why won't he release the files? And I got to tell you, Michael, the one word I would use to describe his base right now is just confused. Yep. They're angry, but
they were angry before though. So like, yeah.
They do not understand. When I ask them why, they don't have an answer.
Mm-hmm. Let it be known, by the way, that the only two people in my life who call me Michael are my mom and Congressman Joe Wolf.
Well, by the way, technically, Michael, I fucking love the name Mike and Michael. My confirmation name was Michael. I have a brother, Michael.
Nice.
It's a beautiful name.
Yeah, my confirmation name. Are you Catholic?
Heck yeah.
Have we not talked about this yet? Oh, I'm gonna. Okay, this is another Substack for another time. But like, this is. I'm also Catholic. This is important to me. My confirmation name is Andrew. So
another great
patron saint of the poor. So I was already that liberalism stuck in early.
Oh man.
So, but anyway, so on Trump, I mean, I just remind everybody of this is like his argument is so all over the place. Like it's a hoax, but Obama made the list and Joe Biden destroyed it, and it's sitting on Pam Bondi's desk, and Kash Patel has access to it, but also we can't release it because it would hurt Republicans in the midterms. And even if you just go look at it, so Nick Fuentes today, who's a right-wing lunatic, crazy person, this is what I would have called Joe 20 years ago.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, right. Probably did, yeah. But he's out there he's like, fuck you, Donald Trump. I don't want anything to do with you. Like the liberals were right about you. And like, that's how far down this rabbit hole that he's pissed off these conspiracy people. And it feels like to me, and I told you I have a piece coming out about it tomorrow. I'm going to try to finish it up tonight. But I think what we're watching is this slow death of the MAGA movement. And it's not going to be something that happens fast, to be clear. What we're seeing is like the conspiracy theory wing of the party is mad about this. You have wings of the party that are mad about the budget and Medicare and Medicaid. So Steve Bannon and Laura Loomer speaking out about that. Tucker Carlson leading the charge against Iran. So Trump's coalition has always been this kind of like loose collection of interests, some of which are crazy, some of which are legitimate. The tech right, like Elon Musk is pulling out with the tech right. And maybe they'll be able to pull enough of it together for Trump to be able to continue to govern. I mean, they have control of everything in Washington. But for sure, I don't think there's anybody who could peel this back together. And that was true before, but now they're eating at each other, and we have 3.5 years left to go.
He could pull it back together. And I'm not as far down the road, having come from MAGA, that it's breaking up as much as you think. That could happen. This is a unique scandal because it's, as you said, it's coming from inside the house. Right. This is coming from the shit that they created. Yep. Nothing, Mike, and everybody listening to us, hit those hearts, animates the MAGA base more than the deep state. The deep state, yep. the deep state, the deep state. This is Trump being a traitor to their cause of going after the deep state. But man, they're going to give him room. They're going to give him room to get out of this. And you're right. Trump's been distracting, throwing shit up there every day. But other stuff's going to happen. And he's the leader. I don't want us Democrats, to get too far down the road of hip, hip, hooray, his base is finally breaking up.
Yeah.
Because I don't think we're there yet. I want to remind everybody, Mike, when January 6th hit, I was on right-wing talk radio. And for 2 to 3 days after January 6th, his most hardcore supporters called into my show and said, fuck it, Joe, that's it. This is serious. Trump finally went too far. I'm done with him. I heard that for 2 to 3 days. I mean, his hardest supporters. And then you know what happened. Eventually, everybody got pulled back in.
Right.
This may be different, but
some of the reason they got pulled back in was the Biden stuff. And I think we need to be clear about that. Like, I think that the belief of a conspiracy theory about Joe Biden's age and health, and like, again, I believe he was too old, but I believe he was still running the country, to be clear.
Yes.
He shouldn't have run for re-election, but that, I think, moved a lot of people back in. Like, my dad is a 3-time Trump voter. My dad would never call into a radio show unless it was about sports. But he would have called into your show if he did. Yeah. He would have said, fuck Donald Trump. I mean, by the way, there was somebody, Dave, who was saying they didn't like our language. Dave, I apologize, but this
apologize, Dave. Apologize.
I love you and I appreciate your comment, but there's no way I'm not dropping F-bombs when I'm talking about this stuff. But my dad would call in and he would say, I'm not voting for Trump. This guy sucks. It's dangerous. But where my dad ended up, and I don't agree with this at all, I'm just sharing where he ended up, was he called me because he was kind of embarrassed about it. And he was like, I want to let you know I'm going to vote for Donald Trump and I want to tell you why. And this was still when Biden was the nominee. It was like probably March of last year. And he was like, I believe that Joe Biden is not physically capable of doing the job and has taken this country in the wrong direction on crime, on immigration, on the economy and inflation, and somebody else is running this government. Now, that's what my dad said, but logically, I think from the way he consumes his news and to a certain degree of what happened, I understand that, because Andrew Yang said this right after the election, and I think it was true. If you give people two shitty choices, they will choose the lesser of two evils.
Yeah.
And that will be a different perspective to a lot of people. I think Kamala Harris was fantastic. I'm not saying she was the lesser of two evils, but people will get into a binary state and they'll choose.
Mike, when did your dad begin to turn back to Trump? Because what I'm talking about is like Trump still won the nomination back then.
Yeah.
And
my dad most likely voted for Nikki Haley in the primary, would be my guess.
Okay.
But I think by the time it made its way to Nebraska, it was already over, so it didn't matter.
Yeah.
Like to be clear, my dad thinks Trump is a moron. He's like, my dad is not part of the MAGA coalition. My dad actually thinks anybody who would show up to any political rally is a nut job, up to and including his son. So, which I sort of respect, because sometimes when I'm at political rallies too, I'm like, I could be at a bar right now. But then I see like a celebrity or something cool. But it's my dad's not part of MAGA, and I've been talking to my dad about Epstein. My dad's a former FBI agent, so he has lots of perspectives on this. My dad keeps hammering to me. He's like, my dad is a dummy account. He follows me on Twitter. He's like, stop talking about the list. Keep asking about the flight logs. He's like, the flight logs are more important, Mike. And so if you notice, I've been adding in list and flight logs specifically for one person, my dad.
That's really cool. But what I was always not surprised, but there was a thought that Trump wouldn't even get the nomination. There was a point where Ron DeSantis was actually neck and neck before DeSantis announced for the Republican Party nomination. But then eventually the base in that primary came home and solidified around the guy who tried to overthrow an American election.
Well, part of the thing was that like nobody did, and the Republicans didn't do a very good job of this. There's sort of like that time between January 6th when he disappeared for 2 years.
Yeah.
People forgot and they got really mad about inflation. And then all they had was these like beer goggles. And Democrats did a terrible job of allowing Trump to elevate his favorables back to where they were before. And that's on us for not being a strong opposition party and making that mistake. And it's on Joe Biden for not being able to leverage the bully pulpit the way that we needed him to in that moment. Beyond Republicans just fucking up in the primary.
Right. You're right, though, in that this one's weird because some of his media cheerleaders are pushing against him.
Right.
Because they've put their neck out there. And the base is upset. And I don't think like Trump's misread the base. I think Trump is lying and hiding something. I think he's scared about what might come out.
I think he's scared about what might come out. And obviously there's the stuff about going to the island and being on the plane. But I think the thing he's really afraid of. So Don Lemon told me about this yesterday, but there's a Wall Street Journal story that I haven't seen yet that was about the reason they're worried about the list getting out is not that this is what the White House is saying behind the scenes, that not that he was on the plane or did anything wrong, but that it looks bad. And I've been thinking about what looks bad means. And I think part of what they're scared of is that Trump took money from Epstein. That's what I think happened. And that period of time when a bank wouldn't touch Donald Trump after he bankrupted the casinos, like we know he took money from Russia. We know that that's the case. And I'm not trying to get into Russia conspiracy theory because I don't need another conspiracy theory to follow right now. But on Epstein, like I think he probably took money from him, and that's not a good look given how people feel about it. So I think they're scared about that. The thing about this is like it's the first time I can remember since maybe the like Access Hollywood tape where like he can't get past a scandal. Like it just is like nothing is getting past it for him. Nothing's getting through. He keeps throwing stuff at it and it doesn't work. And then it's seeping into pop culture in a way that like I don't know if you watched the ESPYs last night.
I did.
You did? Okay. So Shane Gillis hosted the ESPYs last night. I like Shane Gillis. A lot of people don't.
Yeah.
I think he's funny. We also like we're both Notre Dame guys. But like For Shane, like he had a joke last night, and I forget the exact setup to it was, but he told a joke and it kind of bombed. And he was like, "Oh, hey, there was supposed to be an Epstein joke here, but I guess it got deleted.
Yeah,
that's weird, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe I guess for the betterment of the show, I'll just move on and not talk about it. Like, really good. And like for Gillis, who was pretty Trump coded, I think, in the last election, like to do that on ESPN in that room tells you a lot about where people feel comfortable making fun of him.
He's still the king of the party. I'll agree that he needs to get over this. You may be right in that it's going to take him a while to get past it. But his cheerleaders and his top influencers are privately speaking to the White House and his people about trying to find ways to give him room to explain this so that they all can reconnect to the base. I'm not saying they can do it. I don't know how, Mike. I don't know how they do any of it if ultimately the shit doesn't come out. Something doesn't come out.
I think what they'll probably end up doing, I think they'll appoint a special prosecutor. I think that's what they'll say.
Which is bullshit, because that will never
bullshit. It'll be a sham. I think the question to me is like, does that stop it? I'm not sure that stops it. I think that actually maybe dumps more gasoline on the fire. Maybe for a period of time it delays it, but eventually that special prosecutor is going to have to get the answer. So if I'm Trump, I might go, all right, I'm going to appoint somebody to do this, and I'm going to make that person be somebody that's intentionally incompetent, somebody that knows the role is to like do a bad job on purpose. And then I'm going to like lean into that, and I'll blame that person for fucking it up later. But I think that the way that these last 10, 12 days have played out, I don't even know if he has the space to do that. So it's like, okay, I release something, some edited version of the documents, but like we have an edited version of the tape from the Epstein prison stuff, and like that has not tampered anything down. So if you live by the sword, die by the sword for Donald Trump right now.
Well, yeah, and look, the guy lies as he breathes, so it's wonderful that he's been caught in this. But, and you know, Mike, a lot of the people who vote for him, a lot of his base, they're really not Republicans. And if they're really fucking disillusioned, they won't vote next year.
Right. That's the real danger. That's the real danger.
They just won't come out in the midterms.
If they don't come out in the midterms, like Trump's, the biggest arrow in his quiver is that Republicans in Congress are afraid to get primary.
Yes.
If that's gone, he has no legislative agenda. He has nothing to lord over people, and it's done. And at that point, again, that leads me to the sort of fracturing of the MAGA movement. If the QAnon wing of this movement just withdraws and says, you know what, we engaged, fuck this. And by the way, they're not going to become Democrats. Let's be clear about that. The choice is between Donald Trump or not engaging at this point. And they'll pull out, though, and then suddenly Trump is just very, very weak. Has nothing to go off of, because his only thing is like he's got nothing over the Democrats. The government is a mess, and he's not really able to function and do what he wants. So he can get the budget passed because people are scared of him. They're scared of him flying out there. But like at that point, it might not work anymore. And that's a very dangerous position for him to be in. And then he wants to be able to crown the future of the Republican Party, whoever takes over for him. I know that he jokes about a third term, but the guy's falling asleep at cabinet meetings. He can't remember that he's the one who appointed Jerome Powell to Fed chair. So he's not running for a third term. He can't do it.
No. Yeah. And I swear to God, I swear on my Bible, Michael, if he were 20 years younger, he would try to run for third term.
I believe.
That ain't happening. But he's still like, you could not, no matter how weak he might be, you can't be the nominee in 28 for the Republican Party without his blessing.
Right.
Like, even if a bunch of the crazy
right now, but if it all falls apart, like that, my point is like, there's an establishment wing of the Republican Party that would like to get at least one hand back on the wheel. And they may be able to do that in a fractured race where Trump's endorsement doesn't mean as much because of stuff like this. Like, let's say it's the combination of the economy's not in good shape. There's no strong candidate. Like, Vance is a weaker candidate than I think people give him credit for. And then the QAnon wing of the party just disappears. Now it's like, maybe I can get I don't even know who they would go for. Maybe I can get a Nikki Haley through the primary, right? By the way, Nikki Haley, I don't think it'll be Nikki Haley, but like you get somebody where it's like, I can work with that person and they're normal. They're a normal human being, and then hope the Democrats kind of fuck up and nominate somebody that everybody hates, which to me is Gavin Newsom is the most obvious person on that list. But I know a lot of people like Newsom. I'm sorry, but I think he's tailor-made for a general election destroy.
Agreed.
Look,
but, you know, because you and I have talked, I became a Democrat 6 weeks ago because I wanted to become a Democrat. In the back of my mind, I believed for a year or two, my former party ain't never coming back. Like, I think it is the MAGA party generally for the rest of my life. You're a kid, maybe not for the rest of your life. There's no way you could be the Republican Party nominee in 28 and be a never Trumper or even an ambivalent Trumper. You're going to have
do you think like Brian Kemp could figure out a path?
Yeah. So that's the needle threader right there, a guy like that. But Brian Kemp would have to embrace Trump. to even have a shot at the nomination in 28, even in your scenario, if Trump is super, super weak.
Yeah, but if it's a coalition where the MAGA is sort of fractured into its camps, and because let's be clear, Tucker Carlson's running for president. I believe that's happening for sure. And Tucker Carlson might be the only person winning the shadow primary of the Republican Party right now. I don't think a lot of people are paying attention to that. Stay tuned to another edition when I tell you who I think is winning the shadow primary for the Democrats, because that's a different conversation. But if it's Tucker Carlson versus Brian Kemp versus, let's say, Josh Hawley, right? Or the three that kind of, and then I could see that sort of being the different wing of it, like Josh Hawley kind of playing that tech role, Tucker being in the anti-war, kind of anti-neocon thing, and then Brian Kemp playing the moderate role with one probably fringe candidate out there too, picking up a bunch of votes.
Look, JD Vance, who I can't stand,
right,
is going to be a clear favorite.
I'm not so sure.
I know you're not. I know you're not. Look, I wouldn't rule a guy like Don Jr. out. I guess what I'm saying, and I hope I'm wrong, Mike. I do not perceive Trump to be as weak as you think he might be. I understand, and I can't wait. By the way, cannot wait to read your piece tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, I'll see if I can finish it tonight. I can hear my 6-year-old up there playing, so I may be stepping.
But by the way, everything you and I are talking about, there's another political party that has to get their fucking act together and bring this big tent together. And if they can't
that's a good transition to the topic I really invited you on to talk about, which is, so I'll lead into it and then get your take on it. But and I'm going to lean in. I'm going to shit on Dean Phillips for a second, because Dean Phillips has been all over cable news.
Yeah.
Saying that, the party is not big enough for Dean Phillips and Zohran Mamdani, which really pisses me off. And my thing about it is, I tweeted this at Dean Phillips at the time. I was like, well, Zohran Mamdani won his primary and you didn't. And I actually have respect for Dean Phillips for running against Biden. That was a ballsy move. Just like you running against Trump was a ballsy move in 2020. But ultimately, here's politics is a game of addition, and my view of it is I've written this piece. I shared it with you before I published it, but this party can be big from Joe Walsh to Zohran Mamdani, and I'm somewhere in between the two of you. You and I agree on some things. There are some things I like about Zohran. There are some things where I'm like, I don't think that works, but let's try it out, because nothing's working right now. So I guess I'm kind of okay with it. I want a party that's big and messy and ideologically diverse. We're all rowing in the same direction to protect our democracy, to get prices down, help people buy a house and start a family, to make sure that our basic fundamental freedoms are protected and people can get the government out of their fucking lives. I think one thing you and I agree on strongly is government shouldn't be telling women what to do with their bodies. Government shouldn't be telling people who they can or cannot marry. It's very libertarian in the way that you and I talk about it. And I'd like to see the party adopt more of that, frankly. So give me your readout on why is the party big enough for Joe Walsh?
Well, and here's the deal. Mike, I got pissed at Dean Phillips as well. And Fetterman last week said he didn't consider Mamdani a Democrat. What the fuck is that? He won the nomination. What do you mean? Right. Look, 6 weeks ago, I said, hello, world, I'm a Democrat now. When I did that, I'm asking progressives to embrace me. I'm a conservative Democrat. How dare I, as a conservative Democrat, if I'm asking progressives to embrace me, say fuck no to Mamdani? He's too progressive to me. What a hypocrite I would be. I think the party must be a big tent, because I think we underestimate still how big the MAGA populist movement is. A lot of people voted for Trump who are not MAGA. And I think Democrats need a fucking big tent to beat the other party, which I believe is fully anti-democracy. And the last thing I'll say, Mike, is, you know this better than anybody, Mamdani's more progressive than I am. So what? He won the primary in New York City. I'm all in. Damn it. I want him to be the mayor of New York City. Maybe Mamdani couldn't run in Tennessee or South Carolina. I sure as hell couldn't run in New York City.
Right. Well, and it's look, I've posted about this too, is when the establishment runs against a progressive candidate and the progressive candidate loses, the establishment is all about, we got to rally behind the candidate and defeat the Republican. And that's right. They're right. And look, I'm much more of an establishment consultant than I'm a progressive one. I worked for Bernie in 16. I worked for the occasional. I've worked for Ilhan Omar and a bunch of others. But like, I worked for like the John Testers of the world and the Mallory McMorrows of the world, and like candidates that I like that I think are trying to do it. Like for John Tester, like there were plenty of times when John Tester took a vote and I was like, me. But like John's holding a seat and he's the best Democrat I can get in Montana. So, and he was a good dude. So like I recognize that. And I'm fine with that. So in the same vein, if you expect progressives to line up when the establishment wins their primary, you need to line up behind them too. And I will say, to the credit of the Democratic establishment, and there's a lot of work that's going into it, but like Clyburn endorsed Ron Mondani, like, you know, Kristen Gillibrand is like making up with him. Like there's like real work and effort that's going into it. So I think that there's a lot of heat on the establishment and they're aware of that. But like Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer are staying out of it entirely. Like neither of them endorsed Cuomo either because they didn't want anything to do with it. But if the shoe was on the other foot, you would be damn sure that a lot of people would be screaming at the left right now, talking about how they're dividing up the party. And one more thing I want to add here too, which I think you'll have to take on this. There's a lot of people in the comments right now, and maybe I'll get yelled at for this. They're saying, well, John Fetterman isn't a Democrat either. And I'll push back on that because as long as John Fetterman's willing to identify as a Democrat, vote Chuck Schumer to be the leader, and is voting with us 80, 90% of the time, which even now he votes with us 80, 90% of the time. Does it mean that 10% doesn't piss me off? Because it does. And he says shit that I don't like. But I got 47 Democratic senators right now. I need to find 4 more to take back the majority. I'm not kicking anybody out of the tent. If somebody like Connor Lamb runs a credible campaign against him and we can level that up, that's fine. I understand. Seems like Fetterman hates his job anyway and would like to be done. But that's a different conversation. I'm not in the business of kicking people out of the tent when we're in the minority.
Look, and Mike, when I became a Democrat, I made a bet that most Democrats would recognize we need a big tent.
Yes.
The jury's still out, but I think it's moving in that direction. The other comment I'd make is I'm a populist. I've always been a fucking populist. I've always been anti-fucking establishment. Democrats have been asleep at the wheel because
100%.
we're living in a populist moment. We've been doing it for a long, long time. Mamdani is a populist. AOC is a populist. I want fighters and I want populists. And I don't give a damn if they're from the far left or the center, moderate left. We need Democratic fighters and populists. Mamdani is one.
Well, and let's also, like, Obama was a populist, in my opinion. And I think that was a populist that you rose up against as part of the Tea Party. But ultimately, like, and by the way, my phone is glitching out. So if at any point it doesn't work, like, let me know. But like, I think it's just sometimes when it gets over 1,000 likes, it just starts to blow up. But like in 2008, we had this massive financial crisis. So people were struggling before that. Then we have this massive financial crisis. I've been thinking about this a lot in the context of accountability and the way we, like, rich people just kind of get away with shit. But like nobody went to prison for that. And tens of millions of Americans had their lives destroyed and lost their homes. And that isn't right either. And so I think we're still living with the sins of not fully being able to solve for that. And there's some parts of it that like happened under Obama, which would be like the lack of prosecutions. There's some parts of it that didn't, like TARP. I mean, Obama gets blamed for TARP all the time, but George W. Bush signed TARP. I think people kind of forget that because Obama's the one who had to implement it. But people have been hurting. And then on top of that, wages are not rising. Benefits are getting cut. It's harder for people to survive. And so they're taking risks on stuff. So like electing a Democratic socialist as the mayor of New York City is a risk. It is. You could have elected Cuomo and you know exactly what you get with Andrew Cuomo. Okay, as big of a piece of garbage as he is, you know exactly what you get. And there's some comfort in that stability. But when people are struggling, they go, I'm going to take a risk on something different. And it's exactly what people did with Donald Trump. Like I have tons of people who are like, you know, Democratic strategists like me. And they're like, what the fuck are you doing? You have a good career. You work with great clients. Aren't you worried you're going to go on and say the wrong thing? And I go, I'll say the wrong thing. And saying the wrong thing isn't the problem. It's how you react to saying the wrong thing that's the actual problem. If I say something dumb and people are mad at me and my response is to call them idiots and to scream at them, I deserve what's coming to me. If I go, okay, wait, I didn't realize what I was saying. I didn't mean it the way you heard it. Let me talk it through and we work through it together. Then it's okay. So there's just this, like, it created this consultant wing of people that are like, we're going to create candidates in laboratories. We're going to poll test everything. We're going to be very careful about what we say. And that kind of works on cable news, but it doesn't work on social media. And when we talk about generational change, we're talking about candidates who can fucking talk like a regular person. And I have clients right now that I'm working with that they're better at this than I am. Like their instincts are better most of the time than mine with somebody with 20 years. And my value to them is not to overrule their instincts. It's to find those things and validate what makes them interesting, and then build the infrastructure for them so that they can go do it. Like, I work for Mallory McMorrow. I've talked about this a lot. I think her instincts are better than mine 9 out of 10 times. She'll connect with somebody better with her own content, her own voice, and her own work. My job is to go build a massive digital ecosystem for him so she could raise that money. By the way, she's the number 2 Democrat to raise money in a competitive Senate race, which I'm very excited and proud of the entire team that did that. But that's a testament to, like, Mallory, like, congratulating the team. And I told her, like, you gave us a lot to work with. That matters more than anything. Does that make sense?
Makes total sense.
Okay.
And there's always been a fear among the political class, among politicians, a fear to say what you really think,
Exactly.
a fear to offend people. I didn't last long in Congress because I never fucking had that fear. You ask me a question, I'm going to tell you what I think. I think Democrats are beginning to learn to get over that. And they're Andy Beshear, governor of Kentucky, I think today, maybe yesterday, said, you know what, Democrats, can we talk like regular people? Can we talk like regular? I mean, you shouldn't have to say that, but that's what Democratic politicians need to do.
Yeah. Well, it's also like, I'll just give you an example from my own career. It's like, I worked for Kamala Harris for 5 years. I had lots of conversations with her privately. Very smart, very interesting human being with a lot to say, great personality. Where the hell was it in the last campaign? And a lot of that is because now she didn't have the time to launch a proper campaign, build her team. There's lots of extenuating circumstances. But at the same time, I think a lot of people tried to create something in a laboratory, but it's there. And there were times when it came out in the campaign. And she did an interview with Brene Brown towards like the last week of the campaign. And I listened to the whole hour and a half and I was like, there it is. Like, that's what I got to see. And it was the Kamala Harris we shared an office for a long time because she used my office for her call time when I was in DC. And like, she'd give me shit about stuff. She'd ask me where the hot sauce was. We'd have conversations. She was the tie-breaking vote for our company holiday baking contest one year. And like, I got to see that and what a gift it was because the whole campaign, I knew who she was, but then I'd go talk to my friends that are civilians and they're like, she seems fake, built in a laboratory. Like, she's not saying anything real. And I'd be like, fuck, like, because they're not letting her make mistakes. And some of what people expect now is to make mistakes and get
Mike, maybe she never could have won because of the debate and Biden got out late and she only had 100 days. But if I had her ear when she became the nominee, I would have told her, get the hell out there. Go everywhere. Yep. Go sit with Tucker. Go sit with Rogan. Get in everybody's face. I mean, rip your coat off and say what you think. Go everywhere. Get rid of your consultants. You got 100 days, Kamala. Just go let her fucking rip. 100%. I think she would have had a better shot.
It's the same mistake that was made in the primary campaign in 2019. She had that wonderful launch, which I got to play a part of. That was probably one of the highlights of my career. It might be the first line of my obituary.
Incredible launch.
It was really good. And by the way, that should be first line of my obituary. Second line should be the Nancy Mace tweet from this week.
It's a hell of a tweet.
I think it's hilarious. But you know, then she went and like fundraised for like 3 months and didn't do any press. Yeah. And that was a mistake because and in my view of it, I wish I'd fought harder against it, but like, she needed reps to continue to get better and to keep getting her name out there. And like, I listen to so many people that are like, how do I become as good as Pete Buttigieg? And I'm like, well, he's naturally gifted, yes. But also he said yes to everything for years. He's a better talker because all he did when nobody wanted to talk to him was go talk to people with 14 subscribers on YouTube.
Exactly.
And that made him better at it. And it made him connect with people. I need 100 Pete Buttigiegs to be able to do. I don't need all of them to run for president. I don't even need all of them in Congress, but I need more people that can just hop on these and talk. And part of the reason I like Substack is that I can just jump on here and have a conversation. This is the same conversation you and I'd be having if we were drinking a beer at a bar.
Totally.
It's not much different. And I'll be a better talker for it. You'll be a better talker for it. We'll build a community together. And then we'll be able to be like when it's time for us to be useful in the next presidential election, we'll be useful for that purpose.
Hey, Michael, one other point I want to make is this.
I love your commitment to calling me Michael.
I love that name. We always need to remind ourselves that this is a unique fucking moment.
Yes.
The political party I left is a threat to democracy and the rule of law. We ain't never been here. So right now, Democrats, if you believe in freedom, democracy, the rule of law, and basic human decency, that's my only litmus test. I'm in your tent, you're in my tent, and let's go win, and we can argue about forgiving student loan debt later.
Right. If you're waking up every day and you're giving a shit about how to help other people, you're in my camp. That's all that I need right now.
I love that.
Somebody asked me either last week, I think it was last week, like what I was on a podcast, and it was what gets me through this moment when I'm feeling low. And I've said it a couple times this week, but I'll say it again because I imagine we have folks who haven't heard it. But there's this hospital in Curtis, Nebraska that's going to shut down because of the budget. And I'm from Nebraska. I grew up in Omaha, so I'm not in rural Nebraska, but like I have a lot of friends who live in rural Nebraska. And part of what gets me through it is I know that there are people in Curtis, Nebraska right now who I probably don't agree with on a lot, who probably voted for Donald Trump, but they're trying to help people who are going to get stuck with this rural hospital closing. And I'm waking up every day to help and fight for those people and advocate for those people just as much as I am for people in Chicago and New York City and LA. Like, if you give a shit about your neighbor, you're my brother, you're my sister. That's all that I need. It isn't as deep as the vote. Now, I do want to say there's a convo in the comments here about people that they want to elevate. And I saw somebody was like negative on Adam Schiff in here. And I just wanted to say that because I work for Adam. And I wanted to just tell people, like, Adam Schiff is one of the nicest, best people I've ever met. Like, high character, good human being. And I just, one of the people I just have like a lot of insight into. So I just wanted to share that with people if it helps, because I've been with him for 10 years and he is one of the best human beings I've ever worked with.
Well, I served with him. Mike, I agree. I served with him. He's a good guy. And look, not everybody, you bring Adam Schiff on, he's not going to fucking talk like you and I are going to talk. So what? He's a smart, decent guy who's doing.
He doesn't need to either. Like, what's real to them? Like, the problem is, like, I now see a lot of Democrats that see what I'm doing and what you're doing, and they're like, we're going to drop the occasional F-bomb, but like, do you actually talk like that?
No.
Like, I don't need you to talk like that. I need you to be real. Like, what do you actually like? This is what I'm actually like. Like, you're getting me. If people came to my house right now and I was just cooking burgers, we were hanging out in the backyard, same intensity, same energy. I'll tell you another story, actually. I'm supposed to make my Fox News debut in the coming weeks for my first hit. I met with some producer and my PR people, and they were like, well, we want to know what your character is. Tell us about your character. And I was like, I don't have a character.
Yeah.
This is just who I am. I believe the things that I say. When I fuck up, I apologize and try to get better. But I did tell them if they put me on air with Jesse Waters, I would call him a cuck on live TV. And then they took a bunch of notes in their notepad and they were super excited about it. So, but again, I'm not playing a role, and a lot of other people are. It's a game to a lot of people.
No. You said, by the way, if you were on a set with Jesse, you'd have a hard time not putting your hands around his neck. No, you said you got to be real. You got to be you. I just want people to be authentic. And if you're a quiet, introspective guy, then be you. Yep. If you don't say fuck all the time, then don't say it. Be you.
Yep. And find the thing, like, show people your personality.
Yeah.
Talk about the issues that are resonant with you that you have good ideas on. Like, part of the other issue we have in politics right now is we don't have enough people that are actually close to the issues. Like, I talk about Mallory a lot, but part of the reason I like her, she's got little kids at home. So she understands what it means to have little kids at home and have a job and a career and try to support their family and try to take care of their loved ones. And like, those things matter a lot. And when you have, I mean, look, the average age of a Democratic member of Congress is 68 years old. The average age of a Republican member of Congress is 67, so it's not much better. And then Donald Trump is 10,000 years old with fat, ugly ankles. I just wanted to get that out there again. But these guys don't understand what most people are going through right now. And like, look, I'm the first to tell you, I'm a privileged guy. I live in a nice neighborhood in Chicago. I'm doing well. I dropped out of college early to work for Barack Obama. I've had a nice career and I made some good money. But I'm a lot closer to a lot of these problems, both because of my lived experience. Like, I went broke twice in my 20s and had to move back in with my parents. I've had some like serious fights with like isolation and loneliness and depression and stuff like that. So like, I have those perspectives, which makes me a better advocate for those issues. And we need more people that can do that, but not just on the issues that I care about, but on a million different issues.
Yeah.
Completely. And so, take it.
No, Michael, completely. We need, when I was in Congress 10 years ago, and it's still the same, we need more regular people serving in Congress. We don't have enough. It is too old. It is too privileged. And I think you're starting to see, look, I think we're seeing a bunch of Democrats running at all levels in 26 who will more accurately reflect the population at large.
Yeah, and you have a lot of folks who are getting the memo and retiring too. Like, I mean, Dick Durbin is a former client of mine. I was really proud of him. Tina Smith is a current client of mine. I was really proud of her for, like, by the way, for Tina Smith, like, she's at 68. She was just like, I'm out of here. Like, she's like, I'm going to go retire. Just forget litmus test can be for how you approach the issue too, not just where you end up. You and I are both Catholic. The way I approach and talk about abortion in my personal life and with my friends is very different. If I was in Congress, I would guess that my voting record with Planned Parenthood would be 100%, because I don't think it's the role of the government to tell women what to do with their bodies, and I've spent a lot of time thinking about it. But I'm Catholic, and so the way I approach life and conception is different, and it's okay to be a part of this movement and be part of that. And I've been afraid to talk about that at times because I worry that my friends who work on that side of the party are going to, like, think less of me, but, like, it's okay. I got there, and I'm here with you with a different perspective, and that's all right too.
Again, I think the only litmus test right now for us Democrats are, if you support freedom, democracy, pluralism, the Constitution, rule of law, and basic human decency, fucking A, I want to be in your tent.
I'm going to make sure that everybody in this country has access to quality and affordable healthcare through, for me, it would be Medicare for all would be my preference. And then I might go, I can't wait to see what Nancy Mace says about it tomorrow, because that'll be funny. But I want the first thing we think about is, God, how do I help people? Because they're struggling, and politics isn't a fucking game. It's just not a game. And I hate that about this.
Agreed. And let's never forget, every single day of this administration is just throwing so much damage onto real people in this country. And when the Democrats take back power, they are going to have to fix and repair a lot of the damage that's been done.
Yes. Yep. But the good news is, the only silver lining is that all the chaos and destruction that Donald Trump is making right now is also an opportunity to build something new.
Absolutely.
And if we all come together and work together and try to stay on the same page most of the time, we're going to be okay.
Hey, Michael?
Yes.
No fucking way are you and I sitting down 10 years ago and having this conversation. So think about where we are. No way.
Yep. And it's way more interesting this way too, in my opinion.
Next time we're going to do it in person with tequila.
Hell yeah. Oh, tequila, Guinness for me.
Okay.
The aggressively Irish. I don't drink tequila when it's definitely not live on air. Well, I think I'm about to turn into a pumpkin and put my dad hat on, which is really just me doing this.
Thank you,
yeah, Joe, thank you for joining us again. Joe, tell everybody where to find you real quick before I do my outro.
Social Contract with Joe Walsh, Walsh Freedom, go.
Follow him on all social media platforms. He's worth the follow, even if you disagree with him. I'm Mike Nellis. To the 1,300 of you who are here, I love you. I appreciate you. My Substack is Endless Urgency. Please find it and subscribe if you haven't yet. It's free to everybody. I'm trying to not put up any paid content because I want to continue this conversation and make it as wide as possible. If you're willing to become a paid subscriber, it's $8 a month. Helps me pay for, my fancy little gimbal here that keeps my camera up, and a little bit of editing time and stuff like that. But regardless, I love you all. Thank you. We're going to get through this. Joe, you're the man. Talk to you all soon.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening. Remember to listen, share, and follow The Social Contract with Joe Walsh on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and everywhere great podcasts are found. And be sure to leave a 5-star review. This has been The Social Contract with Joe Walsh.